Hello, everyone, and welcome to another small screen Star Wars. As always, I am Julian Mush. I am joined by Rachel Wilkinson.
Hello.
And today we are going to be covering Season 7, Episode 12, Victory and Death. This is the series finale for the Clone Wars. This has been hyped up for a long time, including all over Disney+. And we're going to be talking about, if you're new to the show, I guess, welcome. Weird to jump on at the end, but we'll take you. So what we've been doing is we've been covering all of the Clone Wars final season, and just recapping and kind of reviewing each episode. Probably for too long. I would argue that an hour and a half per episode is probably too long for a half an hour show, but that's okay.
We have a lot to say.
Yeah, we have lots to say. Mostly me, actually.
And no one's doing anything right now anyway, so
That's
it's
right.
fine.
What else do you have to do? Why aren't you watching
nothing.
more Star Wars content? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
So that's the plan. If you would like to join us for more Star Wars related content, because there is going to be more Star Wars stuff coming in the future, and we can talk about what that might be in this episode. But you can subscribe to everything that we do and like us and download us on iTunes and all that kind of stuff. But the best way to follow us is at Tower Babblecast on Twitter, facebook.com/TowerBabblecast, and head over to our website, towerbabblepodcast.com or towerofbabble.ca, whichever is easier for you. And you can find everything we do right there. We do this it has been every week. We probably won't be back next week because won't be a new episode of Clone Wars next week. But
Yeah.
it has been every week live on Periscope, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. And again, if you subscribe and like and all that stuff at any of those channels, you can get notified when we go live. So you can tune in and join us in the chat. So here's the deal. We're going to jump into this episode. It's only a 24-minute episode, which is a little disappointing for a series finale, but not entirely surprising. These finales, I've noticed, I guess, especially even with Rebels, rushed isn't the right word, but like they don't like to linger very long. Like to kind of just get the message out and go. So I do want to say before we get going, though, this is the first Star Wars Day, and this is Star Wars Day, so may the 4th be with you. Ugh. I just don't like the phrasing.
Don't say ugh.
I don't like the
that.
phrasing. I just don't like. I like that something is called Star Wars Day and we can celebrate Star Wars Day. I just don't like that it's called May the. It feels very kitschy to me. Tacky. I don't know.
You're just like it, okay?
Again, I said I rephrased this from last week or from 2 days ago when I said this. The real Star Wars Day should be the day that Star Wars came out in 1977. That should be Star Wars Day, not May the 4th, which is just an arbitrary, rhymey naming convention.
People like rhymes.
All right, fair enough. Who am I to judge? I mean, it's already a thing. So there was a really lovely StarWars.com and all their social medias put up a bunch of stuff, but they put out a really nice like montage video of everything, because I guess now with the Skywalker saga done, this is the first time it's all in one place on a streaming service. So episodes 1 through 9 are all available on Disney+. And this is the first year that Star Wars Day has been on with Disney+. So that's actually pretty exciting, because I don't know if you been on today to look at what Disney+ has to offer for...
What did I watch today? I watched that docu-series episode about The Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. I watched that, and then I started watching some of the other ones about like the older Star Wars movies.
Any tidbits that we should be aware of, like fun little factoids that you got from watching the Mandalorian stuff?
I mean, it's just kind of cool because they dive into like each different director and like which episodes they did and like their train of thought behind them. So like I really like that kind of insight.
Taika, speaking of news and tidbits, Taika Waititi, one of the directors from I think the series finale or the penultimate episode to Mandalorian last season, is going to be directing a Star Wars movie, writing and directing a Star Wars movie. They announced that today, so that's really exciting.
I just learned today, like, and I know I'm going to sound like an idiot, that he's from What We Do in the Shadows. I just put that together by like seeing his face.
Yeah, he's one of the writers.
And I was like, oh, and well, he's like, in that movie too. And I was like, oh my God, that guy. I'm like, okay, now I get it. But
I guess speaking of Taika, I'll plug something else. So on our Patreon, so patreon.com/TowerBabblecast, where you can help support the show. One of the things that we do is a movie club, and it's really fun. We pick a couple movies, then we roll a dice, and whatever the dice rolls, we watch that movie and we discuss it with the Patreon community every month. So this last month we did Eagle versus Shark, which was Taika Waititi's first feature film. It's very indie. Came to Sundance in like 2008, 2007 timeframe ish, and not his best movie. I'll just put it out there, but and it takes a little bit of warming up to, I would say.
I thought it was supposed to be good. I thought it had got good reviews. Or
I don't know. I think it has a and especially Dan, one of our other co-hosts on this, is he thought the message was fairly muddled, and to be fair, I would agree with him. I think the message is muddled. It doesn't really send a great message, and it's even whatever it is trying to send, not clear. So still worth a watch, especially if you like Taika's stuff. Definitely go give it a chance, because I think it's a lot of fun. At least to kind of see where people's roots are, filmmaking roots. You can kind of see where his like creative language kind of developed from. So that's something. Anyway, that's on our Patreon, and it's exclusive for the Patreon subscribers. So patreon.com/TowerBabbleCast. And technically this month was free because we didn't charge any of the Patreon subscribers this month. So and that wasn't an accident. We even did that on purpose.
Maybe I'll become a patron now. That
for as little as $5 a month.
Yeah, because that sounds like something I'm interested in. So
okay, well, perfect.
Yeah, so I'll come listen, I guess.
Yeah, all of our previous movie clubs are in there, including one of my personal favorites, Days of Thunder, which is a Tom Cruise NASCAR
you just had
movie.
to bring up Tom Cruise again.
Yeah, well, actually, no, I heard about him. Speaking of Star Wars, and specifically of stars, Tom Cruise is in the process of trying to make a movie in outer space. So, like an actual outer space. I want that.
Wait, like actually in outer space?
Yeah, like to be filmed in actual Earth orbit. Yes.
Okay, Tom Cruise, whatever.
Mm-hmm. So some of the other stuff that I saw was, which I just mentioned, I guess, about Disney Plus, that I thought was really cool. Was, so if you go to the Disney Plus like homepage, and specifically if you go to the Star Wars section of it, but even just at the main part, all the movies are listed in the top banner, right? You can kind of slide between all the major, the main Star Wars saga movies, and even Rogue One is in there, which I thought was interesting. Well,
it counts.
It's not a Star Wars saga movie, but it's close enough,
I guess. Yeah.
And anyway, so they had it. You can scroll through them, and Clone Wars is in there, and Rebels is in there, and other stuff is in there. But what I thought was really cool is that they used concept art, or like drawn art for the different like banner images, and they're really, really nice. Like some of it for like A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back and stuff is like some of the Christopher McQuarrie originals that were done. But then some of the newer stuff like Rogue One, I recognize they use this like hand-drawn shot of these people like getting dropped off on these troop carriers in the rain, which was actually, I don't think is ever in the movie, but I remember distinctly being the shot that they used to announce the movie, because it was basically trying to say, hey, this is a war movie, is set in Star Wars, which is, the war has always kind of taken a back seat until like Clone Wars came around. It's just like, it's just always in the background, which is fine. So that I remember that was really cool. But there's a bunch of really nice artwork for them, and I think they made some really interesting choices. I think the Clone Wars, the Attack of the Clones one, is pretty funny. It's like this very like conceptual art for with Obi-Wan riding that like green lizard thing. It's pretty funny.
Oh, I love that thing.
Yeah. I can't even make the sound. It's
hard to, like kind of birds.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway,
cool.
I will go check that out. Obviously, that Mandalorian stuff dropped. Definitely worth a look.
It is.
Later today,
it's really good. And then also, I rewatched Rise of Skywalker today.
Ooh, how was
it came out. It's fine. It's like I always say, like I didn't hate on it when it came out. So I liked it better the second time I watched it, and then I think this was like the third time I've seen it.
I don't know. So. I think I've seen it twice. I think.
I'm trying to think if I've seen it 3 or 4 times now. I think I saw it two or 3 times in the theaters. But
I'm pretty sure I saw it twice in theaters, and this I should give it another chance. But there is some serious problems with that movie, and I think if you can go check out at the at the website our review of it. Rachel wasn't there for that, but the Tower Babble review for it, and it wasn't positive. We actually do 2. I think we do a review and then a follow up, kind of discussing it more because we wanted to give it its due. But it's really hard because that movie is just, it's a mess. It's all over the place. There's so many things, and here's the thing. what I'm willing to give it a little bit of a pass on is that it's so dense in terms of so many things are happening at like a mile a minute. Like there's never a chance to take a breath, not once. Like it's just like you're there and then you're there and then you're there and you're like it's like MacGuffin and MacGuffin and MacGuffin. And there's a lot of room to like with like additional content, whether it's books or comics or video games or an animated show or whatever, to fill in some of those gaps and kind of give it some more life like they did to the prequels. But it's going to take a lot of work, just like it did for the prequels, to kind of do that, because just like the prequels were a bit of a mess and like they needed a lot of heavy lifting in the shadows and underneath, under the hood, to kind of help fill out that world, because ultimately that sequel trilogy is missing a lot of extra content, and it
but
feels
maybe
lacking
that's
in it.
where that's where our next animated series is going to go.
That's where Rebel. I mean, isn't that where Resistance is set? And
I haven't started watching that, but
I watched the first half of the first season, maybe, give or take, and I was like really struggling, and so I'm thinking maybe I'll skip ahead, see if it kind of changes its tone or changes kind of like Clone Wars did and like Rebels did, kind of grows up a bit. We'll see if it does. I'll have to give that a chance. I'll report back.
Well, I'm kind of hoping maybe we get like an extended cut for the last movie, like the J.J. Abrams cut, because there's apparently a lot of cool stuff that he wanted in there that got cut. So
I wouldn't hold your breath on that one.
I know, probably not, but hey, you never know. Maybe in like 10 years.
Maybe. I think, and the last thing I would say is that we've been talking about how great this show looks lately.
Yes.
And or speaking the Clone Wars specifically, and I was just looking in Disney Plus. I was just going around, and so I have a nice TV. If I can toot my own horn, it's a OLED 65-inch LG television, and it's really, really nice, and it has brilliant blacks and really bright colors, and so when a show looks really good, it looks really, really good on my television. So I was like, man, the show looks great. So a couple of things that I noticed that are just kind of like bullet points underneath every episode, at least of the newer season. It's in 4K, so you have a 4K television. You're really getting a lot out of it. Animation doesn't always give you, like, 4K doesn't always pop in 4K, and I wouldn't say that it probably would look basically just as good in 1080p and like high def.
I mean, I watch it like on a regular TV at my place now, and I would say, because before the pandemic used to podcast with you in person, and your TV does it does look a lot, but it does look better. Like, it looks.
You're allowed to compliment
you can
my
tell.
TV. It's okay.
I'm just saying, I'm not trying to say it looks worse on like a regular TV, but it's like it does heighten it a lot more, and like you're right, it looks 10 times better even on your kind of high def TV, right?
Yeah. So I
don't know the technical
4K. Yes, you have a high definition television. Most people do now.
I think I do.
Yeah, and if you have a flat screen television, it probably does 1080p. Come on, if you bought it in the last 15 years,
it's a Samsung.
That doesn't help me.
I don't know.
That's like saying, "Oh, what kind of car do you drive?" Like a Toyota. It's like, well, what kind? So
I don't know.
So anyway, it's fine. So 4K. I don't know how much extra oomph you're getting out of the 4K. Really where it shines through is in Dolby Vision, which is a version of HDR, which is high dynamic range, which is brighter colors, more vivid colors, and a higher. Pardon me.
Bless you.
I apologize. It attacked me.
That came out of nowhere.
It attacked me.
It's a sneeze.
Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway, it's a high dynamic range, which is more color, a larger color gamut, more true to life colors, and it really that animation. That's where that animation comes through, is in those bright colors and those big pops.
Okay.
So, and then it also is in 5.1 sound, surround sound. I don't have a full surround sound setup. I know, but it's pretty good. I got a nice sub and like two big, large front speakers. So I'm going to add to my surround sound setup. I'm very close to like a really nice full home theater setup. But this show really puts it to test. So yeah, those are the things I've noticed about Disney Plus, and it's cool having Disney Plus for Star Wars Day. That's my message for that.
Yeah.
So we have
agreed.
Longtime friend of the show, Marcos. He's in the Twitch chat. And he's asking,
hey, Marcos.
With Clone Wars over, where does small screen Star Wars go? That's this podcast.
I was going to ask you that too.
Any prequel rewatches now that there's no more Clone Wars content, and now that there is more Clone Wars context. I think is what he meant to say, because I read it wrong the first time. Yes, I think what I would like to do is go back and maybe highlight some episodes of the Clone Wars, highlight some episodes of the Rebels. Maybe, I'm just spitballing ideas here. So maybe go, like I said, check out a little bit of Resistance, see how kind of if there's some diamonds in the rough in there a bit, and kind of just try to like curate some maybe best ofs of television, Star Wars television stuff, because really, what is Star Wars on the small screen right now? It's the Clone Wars, it's Rebels, it's Resistance, and Mandalorian, and that's really it. I mean, we're hoping we're going to be able to get, the Obi-Wan show, soon-ish. Who knows? Probably not for another 2 years, I'm guessing.
Right.
The Cassian Andor show is around the corner. I know everyone's super excited about that, so I joke because no one knows who that character is, but I am excited about that.
I do.
Yeah. Dan's like, yeah, I can't wait. Woo! It's a known Cassian Andor, like who? But we mentioned last week that Genevieve O'Reilly's coming back to play Mon Mothma, so that's exciting to me. So, but who knows when those will actually be? Mando's not for another year probably before we get season 2, especially with the COVID stuff kind of delaying production.
Oh, I was gonna say, I thought Mando was coming out in November, or is that delayed now?
If it's not filming right now, it probably won't. Right?
I thought they were already done and they were already starting to film season 3.
My understanding was that they were done writing season 2 and that they haven't gone into production yet. But I could be wrong, so just saying.
I can't wait. I just want to see live action Ahsoka so bad.
Yeah, me too. I'm just like, I was, and we'll talk about this, like where does her story go, and we'll get to that in just a sec. But I think there's lots of places that we can take the podcast, and so if you're a fan, please write in. Tell us, towerofbabelpodcast@gmail.com. What do you like? What do you want to see? Because I wouldn't mind maybe doing a rewatch. What I've bandied about as an idea, although it's technically not on the small screen, although it is now on Disney Plus. So I guess it's a loophole. The feature movies, for the prequel specifically, speaking to what Marcos was saying, is doing a like commentary track. So like sitting down, watching the movie, and recording while watching, right? And then like kind of talking about the scenes as they're happening, and then you can kind of like sync it up and like watch the movie along with the podcast. So that's
kind of cool.
I've considered doing, because I know commentary tracks are kind of a thing of the past, especially with special features not being as popular as they used to be.
Right.
Couple cool things I know. So Rian Johnson, director of The Last Jedi, he did his own commentary track for his movie Knives Out, which if you haven't seen, amazing film, definitely check that out. It's murder mystery, very cool. With James Bond himself, Daniel Craig in it. It's really cool. And he did a commentary track, and he just put it on the website. So if you go to I think knivesoutmovie.com, there's a commentary track that you can like play yourself while watching the movie. And I think someone was saying, like, used on Twitter, that they went to go see the movie in a drive-in, and they played the commentary track in the car while watching the movie. Like, how cool is that?
Oh, right? That is cool.
What a fun little idea. So I think that would be an idea. Again, just banding around some ideas. If you have some ideas, towerrebelpodcast@gmail.com. Would love to hear. Marcos, always like to hear your comments. Let me know if you like that watch along idea. Okay, so let's dive into this episode. We've kind of already spent too much time. I guess I don't want it to end. I'm not ready for it to be over. That's my excuse.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay.
I just want more. I always want more. So
yeah.
I always want more Star Wars. Let me reiterate that.
Did you see the funny meme with Anakin today about Clone Wars?
There's
a couple, I guess, but
I saw the one where it was like Obi-Wan, like the animated, like Obi-Wan holding like a dying Darth Maul. And it was just like me, and it was like wanting more Clone Wars as he's like cradling Darth Maul. Spoiler alert if no one knew that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I saw a rumor today, and it's very rumory because I saw it on, of all places, Instagram.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
me too. That a live action Maul might be coming to the Obi-Wan show, but
I'd love to see Ray Park as Darth Maul again. Live action.
Would I. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
And just to see that what we saw on Rebels kind of done in live action, even though it's only like 3 seconds long, would be really cool.
Yeah.
So
especially because it's perfect because they've like aged together properly, right? The same way that Obi-Wan and Darth Maul would have aged together. So I guess
kind
cool.
of. I think
kind of. Well, it's the same actors.
I think Obi-Wan. So... I think Obi-Wan compared, like, if you he would need. I feel like they would need to give him a lot more gray. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, maybe a little bit more.
Ewan McGregor.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe I don't know how actual much gray Ewan McGregor has. I'm sure he dyes his hair. That pompous. I'm just kidding.
Don't you dare say bad things with Ewan McGregor.
No, he's the best part of.
Come over there and fight you.
He's the best part of Birds of Prey. I don't know if you saw that movie.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's the most recent DC movie with like Harley Quinn in it. Anyway,
oh no, I haven't.
Yeah, he's the villain. He plays Black Mask, and that movie's not good, but he's good in it. Okay, so we're talking about season 7, episode 12, Victory and Death. This is the series finale. It's clocks in at about 24 minutes, and Victory and Death, I think, is an interesting title. It's my least favorite of the of the 4, kind of from this Siege of Mandalore arc. I guess it feels very like a little bit on the nose, like the victory is in like the war is over. They quote unquote won the war, but in the process, there's a lot of quote unquote death. It's very common in a war. Obviously, to win a war, there has to be usually some sort of death, and then also like I guess the death can mean a lot of things, like the death of hope or whatever, all that kind of stuff, and yada yada.
Okay.
Yada, yada.
Yeah. See, I think I took it a little bit different, maybe a little bit more wrong. And I just thought like
interpretation.
True. I just thought it was more
yours
like
is like really wrong.
But yeah, I thought it was more like Ahsoka and Rex like had the victory of like staying alive, and then like the death of like all the other clones.
Yeah, I guess that
everything else.
I don't think that's wrong. That's definitely true too, because they literally died. So,
yeah. Well, yeah.
Okay, so we start the episode and it's cut from the perspective of the Venator from the outside, kind of pointing towards the camera, and we come.
I love that shot.
It's so super cool.
Yeah.
Very creepy music as we pull in. It's choral music, not to be confused with like the undersea growth, but choir singing. And
it was very haunting and very like sad, and
I thought it was very appropriate. I really.
It was perfect.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so they're pulling in. I guess like the idea is we're pulling into the ship, kind of from the opposite perspective as we just saw it. So we pull into the ship, and then we see down the hallway as the clones are cutting through into the medical bay. And I guess there's a couple things to note here. Again, we're picking up right after where we left off last week, which we anticipated. I think that was it seemed fairly obvious that was going to happen. I'm glad that I was worried that they were going to skip forward for some reason, and they didn't do that. So thankfully that didn't happen.
No, I'm glad they didn't. I wasn't too worried that they were going to, because they wouldn't have really made sense with all the way they did every other episode. But I'm on your side. I'm glad that they gave us the same like start right where they left off. Yep.
And then I guess they're cutting through the door, and they're like, they're almost in. And Ahsoka's like, well, set those things to stun. We're not trying to kill anybody. We're not trying to. And he's like, well, tell them that. So I like that. Rex is like right back into a very jovial mood, which is, again, it just feels a little bit like too soon, like he's joking at a wake,
Yeah.
So
hey, it helps some people.
Some people, maybe, that's how he copes with stress, is by joking around.
He's got to laugh it off, like, ha, remember when I almost killed you?
Yeah, hilarious. Oh, and then, by the way, just so you know, I also destroyed all the escape pods. So
yeah, I do like that he brings that up later, but we'll get to it. But
so they're like, she's like, wait, like for the moment. Then she like throws the door forward. That would totally kill somebody. So
yeah, I know. Hey, that's what I was laughing at that too, and I was like, okay, so those guys are probably crushed.
Well, I mean, she's got like she's not trying to quote unquote kill anybody, I think is what she said. Yeah. She didn't say she couldn't hurt people, so it's fine.
It's true. See, and I told you that's why she didn't want to go with Maul, because she knew Maul was gonna fucking murder a bunch of people, and she didn't want to have to do that.
It's true, but at the same time, by releasing him, she also allows him to go kill a bunch of people, and I think that's like Rex's reaction was when he was like, why did you let him out?
But it's like that what is it, that puzzle where it's like, oh, there's a train going down a track, and you can either pull this lever and kill one person, or let it stay straight and kill everybody.
It's not a
what would you call it? Logic question? Morality?
It's a morality. It's a
morality thing.
Moral question. Yeah.
So like, do you kill one person or let X amount die?
A moral quandary, they call it.
Yeah.
Yes, if you've ever watched The Good Place, that's they do that live in The Good Place. It's really fun. That's an amazing show also. Definitely check that out.
I've been meaning to, actually.
Kristen Bell is like my or is it Kristen Stewart? Kristen Bell.
Ew.
Kristen Bell.
I was like, Kristen Stewart's the one from Twilight.
Yes, I get that for some reason because their names are very similar, obviously. But like Kristen Bell is like my spirit animal. She's like she's the best.
Yeah.
So they bust the door down, and I guess the one thing I notice is like so there's like right back into this kind of very choreographed dance of Jedi protecting clone as clone shoots behind them, which is a thing we've seen throughout the Clone Wars forever. Rex is very good at it, right?
Oh, for sure. It's what he's been doing the entire time. Whether he's behind Anakin or Obi-Wan or Ahsoka,
it's
like
literally
it's just
the
like
only
that's their
go-to.
This long. Pretty much. Yeah.
So that's really cool, and they're just blown away by how many clones they just drop. They just drop clones left and right, and most of them are with the stun, but like. So I just constantly there's just clones just being stunned and knocked out. Although,
I'm also impressed with like Ahsoka's ability to deflect the bullets but not back at them, so that it's like they're going either up or away and like not directing right at them. Which apparently though that's something that like Anakin perfected. It's one of his styles of being able to not just deflect the bullets but being able to aim them back. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's one of his fighting styles.
Huh. Didn't know that. So I went back and watched last week's episode as well. At least specifically the Order 66 moment, which is when she's deflecting the blaster bolts up. And you can actually, if you watch it like frame by frame, you can actually see them going up.
That's really cool. Yeah. I love those little things, like just those perfect little things that they kind of hide that you might not notice. But yeah, love it.
So they there's a line here. Rex says like he sees like a clone. He's like, ugh. He's like, looks like these guys aren't taking it well. I didn't really understand that line. That it's like, was it like it felt very jokey and jovial for considering the situation. So, they also say that like, did you? I love Rex. Did you hear? Maul got out. He's like, yeah, I know. I let him out. He's like, what?
What is he? How does he say that? He's like, that was not like a mistake, but something along the lines like.
Yeah, I don't know. But...
Yeah, as she's like running away, she's just like, oh yeah, I let him out. And he's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
why would you do that?
You did what? Right.
Yeah.
And like
I needed a distraction.
I took that as a fuck, you just doomed a bunch of my brothers to death by doing that.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I took it. He's like, fuck you, why'd you do that? He's so dangerous,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of conflict not a lot of conflict, but there's obviously a little bit of internal conflict with Rex throughout this whole episode, dealing with that. Like, it's so hard. And he brings it up later, but
I think a lot is kind of fair. Like, he's clearly going through some
it's not easy for him to do this, but
yeah. Then we cut to Maul, and he has the communicator from that arm that got cut off last week.
Yes.
Or again, I see last week, but it was only a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And although it was technically last week,
I was gonna say technically last week.
And he's making his way to the hyperdrive room. And so there are a couple of cool things here. He blocks. He like rushes this guy, uppercuts the clone, and like grabs his helmet and uses the helmet to deflect or to like block a bunch of blaster bolts, and then force pushes the helmet into a guy and knocks him off the bridge. It's pretty freaking sweet.
Oh man, everything he does in this whole upcoming scene is insane.
Well, it's pretty crazy. Like
it's so cool.
He destroys.
He's so fucking strong.
He destroys the hyperdrives with the Force.
Yeah, it's amazing. And like this is like one of the things that is my favorite about that is like when we get to see how actually strong he is. But
I think what's interesting about this is it relates to the line that I think from not last week, from the week before, where he's saying the dark side has never been stronger. Right?
Yeah.
Right now he's able to
tap
into
it's that
this
too.
Like, super strong dark side. So he's like ripping shit apart, right? But as he gets older and as the dark side kind of fades a little bit in its strength as the rebellion is born, maybe he kind of loses some of that ability. I'm just spitballing again.
No, I would say that for sure, because it's like, like as the Sith grow and get stronger, like I think it's just kind of like how the Jedi get stronger if there's more of them. Like I totally agree that he probably has heightened powers because of that.
And then we see the ship get pulled out of hyperspace. It's reminiscent of like the interdictor ship from Rebels when ships get pulled out of hyperspace. But it's super cool because I just like anything that comes out of hyperspace. Just anyway, it always just looks cool and it like pops in.
Yeah.
But when it like
it's always kind of cool.
like sideways and like blowing apart is like that's awesome.
Well, because it's always like uncertain. Like if you just pull yourself out of hyperspace, you don't know if you're going to crash into like an asteroid field or like a planet or whatever. So it's always that risky thing. But it's like that's another thing I love about Maul is that he just doesn't give a fuck. Like he's just like, I'm going to rip this ship out of hyperspace and I don't give a shit where it's going to land because it's like he just doesn't care, and I love it. He's just like the epitome of chaos.
Yeah, it literally, and it's exactly what you wanted.
Yeah.
So now we cut back to Ahsoka and Rex, and they were kind of in that like I don't know, command center station, which is weird that there's nobody in there over top of the hangar section.
I guess it's because they're elsewhere dealing with trying to kill everyone.
Or the clones locked, or the droids locked them out, or whatever. Maybe I don't know.
I think so. Yeah.
And then like Rex notes, he's like, okay, everything's locked down, everything's good. He's like, if they weren't trying to kill us, I'd be proud, which is again that kind of conflicted kind of thing he was talking about.
Yeah, I love that part because it's just kind of like it's all the things he told them to do earlier when he, after his got his order. So like, yeah, that's what I was talking about beforehand. Where, he's after they destroyed all the escape pods and everything, and it's just like all the shit he told them to do, and he's just like, fuck, like. Yep, they did exactly what I told them to. So,
like, and
it's just like fuck my life
to our detriment. Yeah. So the clone, we hear along the clone like communications channel that the clones know that because the escape pods are destroyed, that they have to. They're gonna have to try to go for a shuttle at the hangar.
They're gonna try to go to the hangar. Yeah, exactly.
Right, which is cool. So when they open that, R7 opens the hangar door. It's so cool. So first they do opens the larger the top like the main hangar doors at the top, and we see the moon that they're kind of like aiming towards, right? And the music is so cool there. I don't know what it's like this combination of like strings and like this like synthy horns that are like I don't know, it's very ominous.
And Kate, I wanted to ask you about this part because, like, obviously I don't know where they are, but it seems like Ahsoka does because she like looks at it and then she looks at Rex and says like, "We got to get out of here." Does she mean like get out of the ship, or does she mean like, oh fuck, like this system? I was just curious if she recognized the planet.
I think. Okay, so there's two ways you could take it. I think you could take it as that she knows where they are, but I don't think there's no way she could know. I mean, unless you recognize like some random snowy moon, but
yeah,
I think she took it as shit. This ship's gonna crash. We need to get off this ship.
Yeah, probably. So I was just like, oh, does that like mean? Because I don't know where they are. I thought maybe there was something I was missing, like that. Someone like you who knows a little bit more than me would be like, oh, that's this system. And
I have no idea.
It's along the trajectory between like Mandalore and
couldn't tell you.
Coruscant.
I'd have to look at that like a star map or something. But even then, it's like I'm sure people are gonna say, oh, it's Hoth because we see like snow and snow troopers later. But Hoth is always wintry, and there's no winter when they are the side of. I
think they just did that to prove that like to show that time has passed. I think that's the only reason they did that.
Okay, so but it's clear that there's like it's snowy and also like sandy, but like and maybe that planet will have significance later, and we'll find out what it is and what moon they crashed on. Ultimately, I don't think it really matters too much, but we'll probably find out eventually. Filoni will reveal it in some interview some point. I don't think it's important, but. I do like when she's like, we got to get the hell out of here. It really raises the stakes,
It does. It just makes you, exactly.
For a show that has problems raising stakes when we know that these two characters have literally impenetrable plot armor. So,
yeah. But I think the stakes at this point are kind of like, it's not necessarily like, oh, are they going to survive or not? Because we know that. It's more like, how much is it going to hurt them like emotionally to survive this? It's more like, are they going to have to kill? Is Rex going to have to kill his own brothers? Is Ahsoka going to have to kill the clones she doesn't want to kill? It's more of like how emotionally draining is this going to be on these two characters to get out of this alive?
That's a great point. Because that's really all we care about at this point. And the facial animations they do in this episode are great because after a certain line of dialogue that is, I think they made it. I guess it doesn't matter, but they picked a very strange line of dialogue to be the very last one for the Clone Wars. But they there's no dialogue, and everything is done via like facial expression and through the eyes. I think
I did notice that it was like not that there wasn't a lot of dialogue, but it was like it was a lot of like emotion and facial emotion, and like you're right, and like music to like get you to feel and know what was going on, as opposed to like heavy dialogue.
Right, and
which I like.
A credit to the kind of evolution of the animation, because I don't know if you could have done the same thing with like season 1 Clone Wars animation, but
probably not.
Okay, so they open the shuttle door next, and then like clones just come like spilling out. There's like hundreds of them, and it's super cool. And they're all line up in very, again, Imperial-esque type like formations. And then Jesse's there, and I told you Jesse was there last week, in the room with them. But the Jesse's there, and he is, I guess, like, I don't know if he's a captain or a lieutenant. I think he might be a lieutenant. And he's like in charge of everybody, and it's like. I saw a couple things on the internet saying like Jesse was the final boss of the Clone Wars, and it's like, it's true, but it's like kind of sad.
He pretty much was, yeah. It's like he took over for Rex, right? Because they weren't too sure what was happening with him.
Exactly.
Because they were trying to figure out like, is he helping her? Is he not? Like, so.
Yeah, they didn't know, because I think there's a little bit of chatter on the thing. Is like they don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, but it seemed like a lot of, obviously they stunned and knocked out a lot of the clones, so it seemed like no one was really able to like tell them yet that Rex was technically like a traitor at this point, from their point of view.
And then so Rex is like, they were waiting for us, and that this is the best scene in the entire episode right here. This is it's not even close. It's
I
like,
know.
It's next level stuff. So there's a couple like quotes I wrote down here. So Rex is like, and I love this so much. He's just like, okay, so what do we do? Do we fight our way through him? Like, what's the plan? And like he's like ready to go, and I think he's trying to like amp himself up to kind of like quit from like getting caught up in the emotion. At least that's kind of how I took it. He's like using action to kind of block that, and and Ahsoka's like, no, I don't want to hurt anyone. And then Rex, in like this like very like raw way, like very like truly emotional, he's like, it's like, sorry to tell you this, but they don't care.
I know.
And it's like,
it was like a punch to the gut. Like I was just like, made me so sad.
He knows, because he was like, he didn't care like 5 minutes ago.
Because he literally knows, like he knows exactly how they're feeling. He's like, I was there. He's like, they do not care.
They don't. It's like, they're willing to die on the ship if it means that you die.
Yeah, which is like, how hard would that be to hear? Yeah. Like, where it's like to be her and to be like, man, like I don't want to hurt these people. Like I know it's not their fault and blah blah blah. And to hear back, like they don't give a shit. Like whether they die to kill you, like it's that they have no regard for her life or theirs. Like it's
and then like. She takes Rex's helmet off, and he's crying.
I know.
And she's, it's so sad, because he's like, those are my brothers down there. They're willing to die, and it's not fair. And Ahsoka's ability to read it and say, you're a good soldier. So are they. It's not, it's like no one's blaming anyone. It's not anyone's fault.
Right.
We're gonna I have a plan, and they might be willing to kill themselves to kill me, but I'm not gonna help them do it.
Right.
And I think that's like a really like adult way of approaching things, and very like
for sure,
thoughtful way of approaching things, instead of kind of like just diving headfirst into battle.
Well, instead of just being like, okay, fuck it then. Like it's just like, no, like it's like still like I'm still gonna do this the right way. Like there's a right way and there's a wrong way to get out of this, and she wants to do it the right way.
Which is kind of a message about Star Wars overall. We've kind of seen that as a thing for the years. It's like, if we do this, we're no better than they are. That's something that we've seen for a long time. And
it's got to be such a harsh realization for her too, like just to realize how deep that like soldier mentality has been like implanted into them. Yeah. Where it's just like, it's got to be so sad to be like, they really don't care about their own lives, and like that's got to be such a hard thing to realize, and just be like fuck, like this is all so messed up and so wrong. Like they don't even get to have their own thoughts right now. Or emotions anymore. How like that was stripped from them.
Yeah, I try not to think about it too much, because it's hard to kind of wrap your head around.
It is,
because and then like Yoda, there's a line from Yoda earlier, and then even I think it's Plo Koon. He's like, we're clones, we're meant to be expendable. He's like, not to me. Whatever he says, and then and Yoda says something similar, like, luminous beings we are.
Love
Yoda. Like it's such a funny Yoda joke, and so they've been trying to like, instill in these clones who come out, the shinies, they come out thinking like nothing matters, just follow orders, right?
Yes.
And
yeah.
Like to give them like, no, you have a life, your life means something, you're yada yada yada. Every being is important.
Yeah, and that's like obviously not what when Sidious is making these clones, right? He doesn't think that's ever going to be a thing because he can't think that way.
Well, it doesn't matter though. Ultimately, I mean, I guess Rex is quote unquote saves Ahsoka through friendship. I saw someone complain.
Yeah,
I'm glad that she doesn't just get to be survived by friendship. She kind of does a little bit, but it feels earned. Whereas like
for sure it does.
Every clone, even the ones who painted their masks orange, get to make that call or would feel that way. So
I
don't know. I just want to note here that Rex can't really understand their choices. Like he's always understood that like there's you either fight your way through, and he's like, what do you mean? We have to surrender? He's like, I won't. He's like, I don't. He can't. Like he like it does not compute.
Well, I think he's like they're gonna shoot you on sight. Like he's just like they won't take a surrender. I think he knows that
exactly. And so he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's like, he can either turn her over himself, right, and kind of join up with the rest of them, or she can kind of sacrifice herself, which he doesn't want to see her do either, right?
Right.
Yeah. Then she's like, Ahsoka says she has an idea, which is always fun. Like, I got a plan, and then we don't find out what the plan is until they actually do the plan. And then
she likes to do that.
Yeah. And then I can't. And then she looks at the 3 droids like, can I count on you 3? And the droids are in.
Oh, yeah.
So,
of course they are.
Yeah, because literally they're have to be. They're droids, but it's
fine. They want to be. Okay?
Right. Yeah, I know. It's more fun.
They could be on the clone troopers side and try to be like murdering her, like but they're not.
Like that evil BB-8 from Rogue One or from Last Jedi.
Oh yeah. I thought you were talking about because there's that there's the comics or graphic novels like the Dr. Aphra one, and she has 2 like super murder droids, and they're so funny.
Oh really?
Yeah, they're called 000. He's like evil C-3PO, and she has BT, and he's like evil R2. He kind of looks like a little bit of a mix between like R2 and Chopper,
okay.
But they're super fucking hilarious because they're always trying to just kill humans.
That's kind of all right.
Yeah,
fair enough.
They're great. Highly recommend if no one has read those yet.
Okay. So the next scene is Ahsoka, take quote unquote as a prisoner of Rex. Now I called this last week. I thought that this is the way they were going to get out of.
I thought it was too, and I'm glad they did it. I am glad that they brought it in because they kept building it up, and they kept talking about her not being a Jedi anymore, and kept making that a point. So I'm glad they brought it in.
Which is it's 2 things. It's my guess, which is they're gonna take her prisoner. She's gonna pretend to be a prisoner, which is a classic Star Wars move, right?
Yeah,
we've seen this done a million times. Great move,
so many times. Yeah.
And then also she's not a Jedi kind of like logic, which is so great that they brought that into the show because it's I think a little bit winky at the audience because it's something that people have been considering for a long time. Like, well, maybe she wasn't targeted because she wasn't a Jedi anymore, which is like very letter of the law way of looking at it, but I never really kind of bought into that because it just didn't really seem to fit how Order 66 worked,
Right. Yeah.
Like, well, a Padawan isn't technically a Jedi Knight yet, so
true.
But they kill Padawans too, so
yeah,
it didn't seem to stop them. So I never really bought into that, but I do like that. Like Rex is using like this reverse logic on Jesse, which is like very fun because Jesse's like, wait a minute.
And he
might be right.
I liked that. Yeah. I like the second that he's taking to kind of consider it because it's also like not an order, but it's like something that's coming from his superior, right? I'm assuming Rex is Jesse's superior, so he's kind of got to think about it, but at the same time, not. You can see him computing it at least.
Yeah, because he computes it and he basically verbatim repeats what Rex had said to him earlier. You said yourself,
the first order.
This was the rules, and now you're breaking your own rules. He's like, so. They think about it for a little bit, and it's really all they need is a little bit of time to kind of get the droids into position so that they can launch their plan.
Yeah, I like that when she's like looking over and the droid's like shaking his head no.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
And so he's like, and I just love Rex. He's like, wait, maybe we're the ones committing treason. And he's like, and Jesse's like, wait a minute, no, this is dumb.
Yeah.
And then there's the line, which I think people appreciate. It's like, I'm accuse you of treason. You'll be demoted and executed, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't really like being a commander anyway, which is why he introduces himself as Captain Rex, which is, again, also, I think, one of those things where I don't think they knew what they were doing when they wrote that line in Rebels.
Well, yeah, they're trying to tie up some loose ends. Mm-hmm. Well, that's just to keep the, people who need to complain about something at bay a little bit more.
And I think it also clears up the people saying, like, how did he know that he was Darth Sidious? Because even Jesse's like, you said yourself we're under special orders from Darth Sidious. It's like Jesse knows, so everyone knows. It
everyone
makes
knows.
Sense.
Yeah.
Jesse accuses him treason, and then just when they're about to fire on them, the floor drops out from under them, which is very like. I'm a little split because it's like a little slapsticky, silly, but it like kind of fits everything that Clone Wars has always been, which is a lot of action, a little bit of humor, a little bit of pathos, and all mixed together. So you have the droids involved, which is always because the droids have always been a part of the show. They're dropping the floor out from underneath, literally taking the floor out from underneath these clones. Right? They didn't expect it. Pulling the carpet out from under them, if you will.
Which I think those floors already do that because it's kind of like when you go to like
from them,
or raise up a shift where it's like kind of like a when you go to a car garage to get an oil change and the guys are under the floor.
Well, that's
so
why
it's like, kind of like that.
Yes, great work on connecting those dots. But a part of that is like when they're underneath and they're like trying to find a ship, they're like nope, because that's where all the ships under repair are. Right?
Yes, yeah.
So also here's a question: how do you get a damaged ship back into a flying command ship?
You crash land it the way Anakin and Obi-Wan always do?
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, can't they do, what is it called when you, like a tractor beam?
Yeah, like a tractor beam. You're right. Good point.
Yeah.
The tractor beams exist.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. They don't really use them very often. I guess they used it this season, and like you see it on the Death Star every once in a while. But
yeah, they use it enough. But
okay, so the floor falls out from under them. We see Maul like rush towards the one like. I guess the one ship that has a hyperdrive.
Yeah, the one shuttle.
Yeah. Which is like a proto-Imperial shuttle also, which is kind of fun.
Yes, yeah.
Maul goes for the ship. There's this whole like brief interaction where he says like, "You wanted this chaos. You wanted this chaos." I think it's more appropriate. And then he force pushes her like a million miles away, like super far, and she falls down the hole.
Yes.
And then, but Gigi was there with a quick grappling hook, which is nice.
Yeah, because she's basically falling into a hole where all the clones are like stuck down there because the droids are keeping them from being able to raise those platforms again.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, Jesse is like, again, this is kind of coming back to what Rex had said earlier, but like he's like really impressed because Jesse's like very like on top of things and like it's pretty smart, like this like final boss. He's like. Get us back up there. Like, we're being locked out. He's like, fire on those droids, right?
Yeah.
Like, right away.
You can see them helping her. Yeah.
And it's like, I just think it's fun when villains are actually smart.
When it's not just like bumbling around like idiots.
Droids. Roger.
Yeah. Yeah.
General Skywalker surrendering. By the way, did you see the memes about him saying, everyone laughing when Skywalker commits another war crime? Because to pretend to surrender and then use that as an excuse to like launch an attack is for sure a war crime.
Right. Yeah. For sure. But I mean, it's just on droids, so
it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, does it count? I mean, that sounds awful to say. It's like, does it count if it's against droids? But does it count against B1 droids? Because they're so stupid.
Yeah, that's true. And all the other like battle droids.
Yeah.
So Ahsoka like basically loses the ship. The Maul gets into the transport and she's getting away. She gets up and then she does like a force grab pull,
which I thought is cool to see. I like to see her level of strength because it's like not just anyone can do that and like be able to hold a ship at bay like that.
But like, what's the like? She have to like continue to concentrate enough for the ship to be able to like. What's the long game there? Right? Either the ship breaks in her effort to get it down on the ground, or it gets away. Right? Either way,
I'm not too sure whether
shuttle, I don't think.
If she's just trying to pull it back so that she can jump on it, I guess, or her and Rex can get on it. So it's like maybe she can hold it so that he can get up there and,
Yeah, and then like sabotage the ship with Maul. I don't know.
Yeah, or like get in there or whatever. But yeah.
So she's force pulling it, and then like Rex goes and like grabs her arm, which is like really interesting. Like, does that help? Like, if you're pulling back on her,
I think it's because she's getting pulled forward, so he's trying to like ground her a little bit more, so she's not like moving with the ship. But I think he was just trying to give her like an anchor.
Fair enough. And then so like this is where I was like, wait a minute. There's a lot of clones and a lot of people shooting, blaster bolts, but they seem to be missing a lot. This is very like stormtrooper-esque,
Yeah.
And then I guess as soon as I said that, R7 gets blasted in the head. Like I was thinking, I was like, man, they're just like standing there in the open, no one's protecting anyone, and she's just like force grabbing this shuttle, and like they're about to get shot, I guess is the idea. But like there's so many missed bolts, and then
I think they get hit a few times, don't they? Like she gets hit, like
don't even get me
her lightsaber gets
doesn't make
hit.
any sense. She gets shot. She gets shot like 3 times with a blaster bolt. Like
but I think it's in like places where it's like her lightsaber or her like it's nicked. Yeah, I don't think it's like full blown. And she's got a little bit of like whatever armor on. Who knows?
A little bit.
But
so I was gonna say they're missing a lot, but they don't. So they hit R7, which is sad.
Yeah.
And then we also see Rex get hit in the shoulder like right after that. That's
another thing, I was just gonna say, I was like, he gets it too.
He gets all of our heroes can take damage because again they have plot armor, so it's fine.
Yeah. Well, clones got to be able to like take a bit.
Yeah, but also like you see like Ahsoka also like force pushing them and like knocking them out. Like
it's true.
So, but also not that strong apparently.
Force is real strong. She's like it's like if you were to like punch someone in the head, it's like that can knock them out, and then they hit the ground.
Sure. Okay. Listen, you're as long as you can here to defend all this stuff.
That's why I'm here.
So she loses the ship to Maul. Maul escapes. We hear the Jedi theme right when she like lets it go, which I think was interesting.
Well, because I think she can see. She's like, okay, like I have 2 choices here. Either like I help Rex, or I let or I continue on this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like she doesn't really have much of a choice. It's like the ship or save everybody else.
Yeah. So they get surrounded and they're about to get shot again, and then she does this cool thing where she uses the Force to like cut the floor open, which is a really cool move. I thought. Reminiscent of the move that is from Revenge of the Sith, but is in a deleted scene where Obi-Wan and Anakin do that.
Yeah, they do that. Yeah, aren't they in like they're kind of in that Force shield?
Surrounded.
There?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like similar to when they cut like a ceiling open, but opposite.
But, yeah, literally the opposite because it's a floor.
Yeah, and doesn't Anakin do that in another part? He does that in, it's that episode where I can't think. Where Cad Bane is like attacking the Citadel or whatever, and like all the senators are in there, and he cuts open the floor. Anakin does that, and then they all fall through the floor. So Anakin does that there too.
Okay, well, it's a classic move.
No, but it's cool. Like it is. I always like that move.
They also do it in the when they're escaping from that prison with Echo and Fives when Echo dies. They cut through the wall.
Right.
And
yeah.
But again, we see like episode 1, they cut through that door. By the way, it's really slow to cut through that door in episode 1, but everything else in Clone Wars is easy to cut through with lightsabers.
Yeah, it's just a real strong door.
Yeah. Oh, the Jedi, they're coming through. So we then cut to the Venator. It's kind of starting to slowly enter atmosphere. We get a couple shots of the bridge crew trying to like save things, but everything's breaking, so they can't do anything about it.
And I always find it so weird. I don't know why, but when I see those bridge crews and they're more like they're just in like not plain clothes, but the more like, military clones, or clothes, just because they look so imperial. Like they just look. They have
those stupid hats. They got those little like flippy hats. Yeah.
And I know that they're doing that kind of on purpose right now. Is like those little like.
Well, they've always looked like that through the entire.
Yeah. Yeah. Like where it just kind of gives you that little old, like that feel of like the Empire. Like it's keeps reminding you, but yeah, every time it cuts them, it just like hits me harder. But
okay, so we cut to the Venator. We get they drop down underneath the floor. There's another face-off.
Right, with all the clones that are down there again.
And then the floors go back up and they go flying, and then they go and shoot the droids.
Oh, it hurt my soul.
You hear that? We get to hear the R2 sound, which is fun. I always like that sound.
I know, but it just breaks my heart.
Yeah, it is. That one, I guess.
Sorry.
Of all this, it is the saddest. Well, it's like one of the saddest things that happens in this episode.
It's just because they're like, I don't know, like I have a soft spot for those little astromech droids, and then it's just like because they're just trying so hard to help and do their job, and they just get executed like that. Just like how when Ayla Secura dies and they just keep shooting her. I'm like,
Yeah,
stop shooting
so
them. They're already dead.
Yeah.
Stop
it. They're already dead.
I know. It's like, it's overkill. Leave them alone.
Yeah.
But I get it. They're just droids, but I'm a softie.
Mm-hmm. That's true. I just liked it for hearing the wah sound from.
Yeah.
So then they start running again. She force pushes, knocks a bunch of clones out. They're trying to find a ship. They're all under repair. They find one Y-wing that's available, so she force pushes Rex onto the ship. Mm-hmm. He kind of gets it like started up, and then so she's blocking the whole time, and she gets clipped twice here. So we talked about she's already been clipped. She gets clipped in the arm, I think in the leg, and just when she like again plot armor, but just when things are about to kind of not go their way because all the clones are like kind of making a second push. They enter atmosphere and the ship's gravity like slides sideways, so everyone's like falls down to the end of the hangar, I guess, area, a repair section, and Ahsoka does this like grab move with her lightsaber, which is always cool.
Every time she does that, I love it.
And the last line of dialogue as the ship tilts away, Rex yells, "Come on!" And that's the that's the very last line of dialogue in the Clone Wars. So take that for what you will.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think it's very significant of anything. Maybe they had lines dialogue mapped out for something else later that they never used. But there you go. That's the very last line of dialogue. I have to go back and double check. I was like, wait, is that the last line? I double checked it is.
Isn't there's nothing later on with the stormtroopers or anything? No, there's no chatter there?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Not a thing. So the ship tilts. Rex yells, "Come on!" She's about to jump to the Y-wing, or she's about to jump onto it, and then the Y-wing falls. And then there's this free falling section that's kind of fun, as kind of reminiscent of like the more fun version of that when she's falling at Mandalore and the race you to the ground thing. So she's free falling. Rex gets the Y-wing started up. She runs along that piece of dismantled engine, and then jumps onto the Y-wing, and then they're safe. We also basically the music kind of changes there. There's a couple shots of when she gets in, as Rex looks over at the crashing Venator. He looks very dejected, like pretty sad. Ahsoka looks fairly thoughtful, like concerned, maybe, but also kind of a little sad.
Well, right, because they know what's happening. Like they're just like they know what's about to happen to all those clones, right? So
we cut to a crashed Venator, and this is the ship that was just crashing, obviously, and there's some soft piano and then these synthy horns again that are really fun. And Rex has a shovel, and I think we can all guess what that meant.
Oh yeah.
We see a destroyed R7 underneath the Y-wing, so it looks like they're kind of like trying to repair R7. And we cut back, reverse shot. Ahsoka is in her gray hooded cloak that we've seen. I don't know if she gets it, but we see her in Rebels. So I think that's kind of a nice connection.
I know. I thought that same thing. I'm like, where did that come from? But whatever. It came out of the wreckage. Exactly. It's just like a piece of fabric. Whatever. Because it does seem like they're kind of salvaging pieces out of that wreckage.
But so they can get off. I think Y-wings have a hyperdrive. It's
see, I wasn't too sure if they did or not. I thought they didn't.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Okay.
Because like that's the whole thing with like the X-wings and like all the Rebel fighters was that they could do long range fighter runs and bombing runs because they didn't have to rely on a capital ship like the X-wing or the TIE fighters do, right? So they get launched out of like either like a Star Destroyer or one of the smaller capital ships, and then the X-wings could just like pop in out of hyperspace. And I'm pretty sure that's also true for Y-wings and A-wings.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't too sure because that's what I was thinking about. I'm like, are they kind of stranded now? But no, that makes sense. That makes the plot a little bit better if they can actually get out of there with hyperdrive then.
Yeah, and it's convenient that there is a Y-wing because there's two seats. There's the bomber.
Yeah.
So otherwise, it would have been a little bit of a snug fit, I guess.
Yeah.
So again, the music is very somber. We have the Rex and the shovel. We reverse cut Ahsoka with the hooded cloak, and we see some clone graves. There's a bunch of essentially crosses is what you would see in like our world, but they're these sticks or pikes with the clone helmets on top of them.
Right.
Which is a visual we've seen several times in Star Wars. We've seen it in Mandalorian with the stormtrooper helmets, much more like ominously. In I think on Tatooine in Mandalorian, and then I've actually if you go to I think in the video game in Jedi Fallen Order, I'm pretty sure there's a crash venator and there's some there's like a I don't know how you describe it, like a shrine to like these fallen clones with their helmets. So it's again pretty cool visual. And Ahsoka's kind of like looking over them. She obviously helped Rex dig I assume she helped Rex dig the holes. And
for sure.
We kind of pan over these different clone helmets. They're painted orange, and we land on Jesse's, which has the Imperial symbol. Not the Imperial symbol, the Republic symbol on it.
Republic symbol, yeah.
Which is kind of in like a message. It's like, hey, the Republic is dead, the Empire's alive. Is what's
for sure. It's
but also that the clones, the Clone Wars as we know it is over, right? So I think that's because we kind of cut off of that helmet to stormtroopers, and they're very different helmets.
Yeah, the snow troopers.
Yeah, it doesn't technically cut in that way, but it's like close enough that you can see it.
Right.
Ahsoka looks at her lightsaber and then drops one, but she only drops one, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, I wasn't too sure. Like,
does that line up with the books?
Yeah. Yes. In the book, it does say that she leaves, like, her and Rek fake their deaths, which is probably this, right?
Yeah, it's her
fake her deaths,
dropping a lightsaber to fake her death. Okay.
Yeah, well, not dropping it, but she leaves her lightsabers like on a grave,
right?
Kind of thing. So, and this fits with that. Yeah, I'm not too sure if she only had one at that point, like if she lost one at some point during
double checked, unless she dropped one when she fell out of the. She had two up until the moment she jumped onto the Y-wing, and then the Y-wing fell away. So she could have dropped one there. It's possible, but she had two up until that moment, and we don't see it fall. So
yeah, because I'm pretty sure because in the book she doesn't have any by the time we're in her novel, because she basically builds two from scratch. So
very sleek looking ones. Her Rebels ones anyway.
Her new ones are really cool because the hilts look like almost like samurai sword hilts.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah, they're really cool.
So yeah, she leaves her final. I guess it's kind of like I have to put this away because if I don't, it threatens my life. It threatens everyone's lives around me. It's like I have to kind of go into hiding.
And I think it's also like her way of making it look like she died in that crash too. But
otherwise, they could continue hunting her, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
So speaking of which, we cut to some time later. The time jump is unclear. I'm guessing it's not that long because I think that these stormtroopers are still probably clones.
I was assuming it wasn't that long. It just seems like a seasonal change. Like that moon is in like a different season now. It's in winter as opposed to whatever fucking season it was when they crashed.
Right. But and we see snowtroopers, we see regular stormtroopers, which doesn't necessarily make sense. Like if you're on a snowy planet, wouldn't everyone be in that same gear? But I think they wanted to show us all of them in case it wasn't like perfectly obvious. So we see everybody. There's some Viper droids around. Those are those recon droids. And then we see Vader kind of walking through the snow. First, you hear his breather, which is obviously iconic. And then
that was such a when you see it, like you hear it and then you see him step into the frame, just like so cool. I was excited. I was hoping we were gonna get to see Vader at some point.
Yeah, and we get to see Vader in Clone Wars kind of animation, which is fun as well.
Yeah, which we haven't seen before.
The version we saw in animation was in Rebels, which is very much thinner and sleeker, and people don't like it as much. I don't necessarily like it as much, but this is cool. So he finds the saber on the ground. He ignites it in blue. So there's this really cool visual. Like he could have just looked at it, and they could have, but they have him turn it on. So there's this idea of Vader holding a blue lightsaber, which is the color of Anakin's lightsaber. Obviously,
I know. I love that visual. I can't wait for people to start painting those and for the fan art to start coming out for that.
So I thought that what a cool exactly just a visual representation.
Yeah, I loved it.
The two versions of Anakin and Vader, really cool. And then he looks up and we hear, I guess, the owl. Do we know the name of the owl? I forget.
No, and I want to know the symbolism behind this fucking owl.
So I think the owl is a lot like Caleb Doom when he becomes the wolf, or
the wolf.
Speaks to the wolf later in Rebels.
Well,
I think
it's kind of cute.
Something similar to that. Ahsoka's
It's just
owl.
because Ezra's got like the Loth cats that like come to him all the time, and
Mhm.
like it's one of those things. But yeah, that owl is like always kind of like, I don't know whether it's associated with Ahsoka or whether it's associated with Vader. But it's, I was gonna say, you just pulled it up here that
According to Wikipedia,
mhm,
its name or her name is Moray,
mhm.
female convor with spiritual ties to the daughter, a force wielder from Mortis, who
Right.
represents the light side. She appeared in
Mhm.
various depictions of the force wielders alongside the daughter. So that's really interesting. So I guess like she's kind of watching over this kind of thing. It's obviously we see Moray plays like a really interesting role in the world between worlds in
Yes.
Rebels. So
Yeah.
and is there when she quote unquote dies.
Yeah.
On Mortis, I think. Whatever that planet is. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember where they find that
Mortis.
temple.
Mm-hmm.
It must be. It would make sense for that owl to be there and all that. So, ooh, I wonder if maybe they're near Mortis.
I don't think that this owl has to physically move through space.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of like a spiritual entity. It's
exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, that is nice to see that owl of like the light side. That other depiction of light side, dark side.
Do you think that Vader recognizes this owl from here and then later off Mortis? He's like, "What? That's fucking weird. This owl just keeps following me around." Or remembers it from Mortis or from like with the daughter. Maybe I don't know.
I mean,
it's
he's
not clear,
pretty force sensitive, so I feel like he would be able to feel that there's,
some sort of
that is that there is a connection to the force there, even though like he is so dark side at this point that maybe he can't,
I guess,
understand it as much. But
I don't know. I feel like at this point there's like early on in Vader's turn, I feel like if someone had made an attempt, someone like Ahsoka close to him had made an attempt to try to convince him that he was going down the wrong path very early on. I'm talking like the first couple weeks. I think there's a chance that you could convince him that you're going, you're maybe approaching this the wrong way. Maybe not. I don't know. It's again, that's that what if game, but that's kind of what I was thinking. So it ultimately doesn't matter. But I think it's interesting here. He like looks up at this owl. You can see his eyes through the visor, which I think was an interesting choice, a good choice. And then we close on a clone helmet, which is I think appropriate. With Vader in the reflection. Very cool. So that's it. That's the Clone Wars. That's Clone Wars, the series. That's the season 7 finale. It's the series finale. It's all done. There may be more Clone Wars in the future. Maybe we'll get some of those unfinished arcs like the Kashyyyk stuff and some other stuff. But ultimately, I would like to see, by the way, more Kashyyyk stuff. Yoda with the Wookiees. Come on.
Yeah, that's true. Of course, yeah.
But ultimately this is where this all ends, and I think it's pretty satisfying. My final kind of thought on it is that, and I kind of said this at the top, that I thought it was a little short. I feel like we could have maybe touched on a few more things at the end, and kind of spent a little bit maybe more time with the clones. Kind of, although I don't know, like how much versions of clones shooting at Jedi do we need to see? But there's something about having the finale only be 24 minutes and have it be this like mishmash of tones between kind of some lighter stuff, some very heavy action, and ultimately very light on dialogue. It feels the very end feels great. Like the very ending, it kind of makes the rest of it not matter really, I guess,
right?
Because it all works, but it's not a perfect finale in and of itself, I would say. The episode itself isn't perfect, but in a whole, taken as a whole, with this arc told as kind of a just short of 2 hours of a movie, an hour and 40
minutes. If you take it kind of all together,
it's pretty much as close to perfect as you'll get as a finale for a
I honestly I thought it was beautiful. Like there's not much, like there's always more, right? But I don't have any qualms with it. I think they did a great job, but
okay,
I was happy with it.
Well, yeah, I didn't expect you to be like, oh, it was brutal, but I mean, you did say that about the Martez sisters arc, so
I don't think anybody liked that arc or those characters.
I think some people did, but I also think that those people are just saying that because they don't want to look like they're being negative, which is true. I think a sentiment that I think we can all appreciate. Yeah, or sexist. It's like, oh, I liked it. It's like, yeah, like you didn't love it though. Like, come on, you're allowed to say you didn't like it. It's okay.
Yeah.
just make sure it's rooted in like the actual. I saw it interesting like diagram. It's kind of like a Venn diagram, but it's more of like a T, kind of like a heat map kind of type of diagram, where it's like people who are critiquing or criticizing art should kind of fall into this, understand this diagram, which is like at the top and bottom was like, this is good because I like it, and this is bad because I don't like it, and then there's like, this is good because it's technically good, or this is bad because it's technically bad, and like where you fall on this, on that scale.
On that scale, and no, I like that. That's a fair, fair observation that people should really consider.
Yeah, and people don't often. Obviously, we talk about this all the time. People think with their emotional brains.
No, people are very emotional based. Yeah,
which is fair, and especially with art, it's based in emotion. So I'm fine with that. I just say just think about it before you start saying stuff like I hated that, or I didn't like that. That sucked because it was designed for girls, or that sucked because it was like that. Think about what you're saying first. Is all I'm saying. But
for sure.
Yeah. What do they go from here? I think that's maybe the question. Clone Wars is, as the story is wrapped up.
Yeah.
Right. There's still some loose threads, I guess, that they could if they wanted to visit over time. I joked, remember earlier in the season, like they've now done like the Clone Wars is over, Clone Wars is back, Clone Wars is over, Clone Wars is back, like 3 times now. So it's like I think you kind of overstayed your welcome with that. So I think if they did it would be very kind of like, hey, by the way, we finished that. We just kind of wanted to finish up the last of this stuff. Here's kind of everything now. We've reorganized it and they really think they should do this. They should reorganize the episode order in Disney Plus so that it's in chronological order of the story, not in release order, because it's all over the place. I think it's really bad in season 2 where it's like a character will die and then will pop up again like 3 episodes later. You're like, what the hell's going on? Like, why is this out of order? So fix that, get everything lined up, and like that's I think a nice little bow you could maybe put on something in a couple of years. But ultimately,
that's true.
Not necessary. But
I think we might get more like not necessarily like animated series or like that, but you might be able to get some of these loose ends or loose story things that you still want, like the Kashyyyk stuff. You might be able to get that out of like a graphic novel series or out of just like a comic series.
They've done that with other arcs, I believe.
They have, and which I really enjoy.
Was it the Sifo DS? I think there's a Sifo DS arc that they turn into either book.
They've just done tons. Like I
would just love to see more about Sifo DS. Like I would just love. By the way, do you know that Sifo DS and Count Dooku were like buddies? I was reading the Count Dooku book recently. I haven't finished it.
Oh, okay.
But they were like chummies, and like they
were
like Padawans together.
Yeah, someone was telling, or not someone, but I saw somewhere where it says that Palpatine and like Plagueis was still alive during like some of the other movies, like some of the earlier movies, that Plagueis was still actually technically still alive.
We don't know about that.
Yeah.
Have you heard about Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Yeah. No, there are lots of like really cool stuff. Like if people want to get into it, there's some really cool like graphic novel series and comic series. Like there's a whole cool arc about like Vader and his Inquisitors hunting down Jedi, and like how Vader gets his red lightsaber and all that kind of stuff. Like there's some really cool comics you can get into to dive deeper.
Right, so that's why I'm saying I don't think we need necessarily more Clone Wars specific content. So what I'm thinking is this animation team isn't going anywhere. Lucasfilm has a fully staffed animation team. They're not about to be put out of work. Some of them are working on Resistance. I think ultimately, I don't know how much longer that show is going to live. I don't know what its ratings are, but I can't imagine it's based on Star Wars Twitter that it's a bit of a bubble, very much a bubble, but. I was finding it funny, like that one Instagram account that you like a lot. They're like they really hate the prequel or the sequel trilogy, and I think it's like, to me it's like hilarious how much they hate it. Like they're like, this the villains of the prequel trilogy, the villains of the original trilogy, the villains of the sequel trilogy, and it's like JJ, Kathleen Kennedy, and like Ryan.
Like the Star Wars general.
What are you
they
talking
have some pretty
about?
good memes.
Like it's like, okay, whatever. But like.
I really like that account though, because he actually posts a lot of like background info on things and a lot of like cool lore and stuff. So it's like sometimes it's like memes and making fun of shit, and then other times it's like he'll deep dive into like really cool like other things like the Old Republic or all sorts of different like history things.
It's an interesting time for Star Wars because not only is Clone Wars over, and we're kind of in the Skywalker saga is over. Star Wars Battlefront 2 is now no longer being supported, or at least not. There's no new releases coming. To
no more updates.
No more updates coming. And we kind of have a very complete picture of everything from the beginning of Episode 1 to the end of Episode 9, and a lot in between. Although there's a little bit to flesh out there, like we said at the beginning, with the Episode 9 stuff and some of the sequel trilogy kind of background stuff. There's room there for that. But I'm wondering, it's like, clearly we have a movie coming from Taika. We have series coming. Like, there's stuff coming, but we're in an interesting place where there's a lot of freedom. So we could go back and maybe with an animated series, we talked about this before, about like the Jedi Mandalorian War. Like, what a cool idea. Or like an Old Republic series. I would love that. If you go back 1,000 years.
Old Republic would be so cool.
And just bring some of that stuff into canon, and we can now play around with more Jedi and more Sith, and like, how fun is that? Like, just doing all these different kinds of things. So I personally would like to see that. I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen.
Yeah.
Rian Johnson has been tapped for another trilogy of Star Wars movies.
Oh, okay.
That was announced a long time ago. He's kind of working on, I think, Knives Out 2, and then there's like, when the timings kind of line up is unclear. But what I'm saying is, a lot of rumors around the idea that there's going to be an Old Republic trilogy of films. There's a lot of room for then to be an animated series around it.
I want to see Revan stuff so bad. So
yeah, I'm just saying there's a lot of options. We know that it's going to be an animated series. I'm hoping for Old Republic because I think that's it's a longer form way of telling these stories, and I think that's a bit more conducive to animation and long form storytelling than the films would be. Although it would be cool to kind of like highlight some big moments in the movies of the Old Republic. That would be fun. But I don't know. It's too much to speculate on. There's too many options.
Yeah. I do have one last fun fact about Clone Wars.
Fun facts. Okay.
Which I learned today. So like, I learned it off this documentary that you can watch on Mandalorian, but it just triggered into my brain about how Dave Filoni got brought on to do it. But like, in the phone call he got about it, he literally thought it was like the people that he's working on SpongeBob fucking with him because he didn't think it was a real offer. He's like, oh, okay. Oh yeah. Like you're making Clone Wars. Like, didn't you just do that with the movie? And like, was like being a dick on the phone. And then like near the end of the call realized like after this person actually made like, a date to like meet up with him. He's like, oh yeah, you want to meet? Yeah. Okay. And then she made this deal or, time to meet with him. And he's sitting there and he's just thinking like, I don't want to give into this because I don't want to look like an idiot if they're fucking with me. And then he just says, he's like, so who put you up to this? And she's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, this is Dave Filoni, right? He's like, well, yeah. And then he was like, he's like, oh my God, this is actually fucking real.
And he was hired originally as a storyboard artist. On the Clone Wars to work with George, and then George Lucas comes
and he was
in,
talking about that,
and he's like, by the way, we're not doing storyboards.
And he's like, that's what I do.
He's like, that's my job. So, and then
that's what he brings up.
Yeah, I think that's really funny.
When he met with George, and then he went aside into like the green room after he had his meeting, and he was like, oh, that was just like a really cool that was a cool interview, and this is like a really cool opportunity, and like he didn't think he was gonna get it. Like he's just like, I'm not gonna get this, but like this is a really cool thing to happen in my life.
What a cool with George Lucas and like
he was talking about being able to one up every other nerd in like line to see the new like Star Wars movie coming out, and he's just like, oh, I'm gonna be able to one up all these nerds, and then the girl comes in like, yep, George likes you got the job, and he was just like, holy fuck. Yeah.
I can't wait to
but just hilarious that he thought the guys of SpongeBob were just fucking with him.
And like he also used to work on
King of the Hill.
I think it was the Last Airbender. Which I think,
and then he did some like Asian anime thing too that I don't, unless that's what you're talking about.
I think that's what I'm talking about. Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is widely considered to be a very good animated series. So I would check that out. That and Korra, which is the prequel. Okay.
So one last fun fact about Clone Wars.
Well, I think that's worth it. I think we can wrap it up there. So follow us on Twitter at TowerBabbleCast. That's where you're going to find out, as I'm banding around ideas about what to do next with small screen Star Wars. I think the Star Wars on the small screen isn't going anywhere. There's a lot of content coming, like we talked about. And in the meantime, there's a lot of things that we can talk about from back in the day we can cover. So look forward to that because it's going to happen, although we're going to take a short break now that Clone Wars is over to kind of decompress. And,
well, thanks for having me, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. I did the first episode by myself.
Yeah. I appreciate it. It was fun for me to hang out the last 10 episodes. So
yeah, it has been fun.
Yeah.
And 11 episodes, hasn't it?
Well, I was only on 10. Only on 10.
Really?
Because you did the first one by yourself.
Yeah. So and this is 12. 10. So there was 11 other. That's 11 episodes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, you're right. I can count.
I'm like, wait a minute. Is my math wrong? Like, I feel like am I crazy?
I'm tired. Okay. It's late.
So I'm gonna go edit this and post it right now. But again, thank you everyone for watching and listening and tuning in. Appreciate it. Look for more content coming soon. What that will be, you can help craft towerbabelpodcast@gmail.com if you have any comments, questions, concerns, ideas. Happy to listen. And then again, subscribe on iTunes to find out when the next episode drops, and facebook.com/towerbabelcast, all those things, and help support the show that way at patreon.com/towerbabelcast if you want to hear us talk about the latest or the first Taika Waititi feature film, Eagle versus Shark. So go check that out at patreon.com/towerbabelcast as well for as little as $5 a month. Okay, I guess we can wrap it up there. We will be back at some point in the future with more small screen Star Wars. We'll talk to you then.
Bye.